Hey everyone, Roman Prokopchuk here. Vladimir Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, said that Ukraine has liberated the village of Arkhangelsk and Mirolubivka, located in northeastern part of Kherson Oblast, area controlled by Russia's grouping of forces separated from the rest of the occupied territory by the Dnipro River. So obviously that northern tip is where those cities have been liberated. And but however, yesterday's report by sources linked to the Russian military suggests much larger gains of the Ukrainian army in the area. They suggest that the Ukrainian forces have advanced at least 20 kilometers from the north and reached the village of Dubchany. The following map obviously reflects the situation, but it's kind of funny that the president came out and was kind of conservative. You know, we took these two settlements, and Russia and pro-Russian, pro-Kremlin bloggers came out and said that they've pushed a lot further in terms of 20 kilometers. So that's interesting where Russia is kind of at this point, which is like deja vu, telling a little bit of the truth. Meanwhile, the operation or the Ukrainian Operational Command South urges Ukrainians not to announce even positive news of the front line prematurely because it obviously can jeopardize the lives of military personnel and local residents in liberated areas. So this kind of like secrecy was undertaken and held pretty well in the Kharkiv offensive. Obviously, that Kharkiv counteroffensive happened really quickly, but the amount of information that was coming out was very hush hush, and it helped to further and amplify the success of that. So here in Kherson, sometimes we don't know because things are changing hour by hour, day by day, and some of these pushes look like they can be even more significant than once reported, like mentioned by Russian sources, that these pushes were 20 kilometers. So that's several miles in terms of, double digit miles. So it's going to be interesting the next few days and the next few weeks because still, yes, it's getting cold in Ukraine, but in the southern part of Ukraine, Crimea, and even in the Kherson Oblast, the temperatures are a little bit more temperate for longer periods of time. And even in Crimea, it doesn't get so cold to the point where it's, in northern Ukraine or, northeastern Ukraine. It's more temperate middle Mediterranean climate, more so like the Aegean area and the Mediterranean Adriatic area. So like Croatia, Italy, Greece, areas like that. It does get cold. There are higher elevations, mountains like Ipatri in Crimea, where obviously in the winter there's snow, but along the shore there isn't that. It gets colder, but there isn't that much snow. So this area will stay warmer a little longer. So they do have the luxury of a little bit more time, but obviously right now it's somewhat of a rainy season per se. Now that it's not snowing yet, I mean it's getting colder. There has been kind of first snowfall in certain areas, but most of the precipitation coming down is still rain. So they still have the opportunity to make a faster push. Obviously, it's a lot harder because there's not a lot of cover. There's a lot of fields, like in areas of the Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast, a lot of farmland, a lot of produce areas like Kherson, and the Kherson Oblast is famous for growing watermelons and other fruits. So it's going to be interesting how this breakthrough through the Russian lines, if they can recover and hold those positions for a little longer, but that group is still cut off by the river itself, so they're not going anywhere. Obviously, there's been reports of them trying to negotiate surrenders and potential situations where they can lay down their arms, but according to estimates, there's around 20 to 25,000 Russian troops at this point. I don't know if they can even be reinforced. but I don't know what's going on with the Russian military or obviously who's leading the strategy, potentially directly Putin, but they're kind of doubling down and trying to hold at least this area and not retreat more to the south. So it's going to be interesting next few days if they, attempt to potentially, try to speed this up, which without obviously trying to maintain some kind of order and minimize loss of life. Obviously, there was an announcement a few days ago. There's, I believe, another 18 or so HIMARS inbound to Ukraine. So if those got there anytime soon, those would be, significantly impactful because I believe there's already in country about 16 to 18, so that total number would be around 34 or 36. So theoretically, you can split those with the east of the country and then half of them in the south in terms of the southern offensive and, you know, strike areas and their positions and their lines as you're moving through. And obviously, there's been a lot of shorty missions in terms of the Ukrainian Air Force doing well in this area. Actually, Russians. It's been reported that Russians have had to be calling in airstrikes via social media, but the Russian Air Force and pilots are afraid to fly in this area because Ukraine has been downing military aircraft and helicopters at a astronomical pace. So Russia doesn't have air superiority, and these men within this area are pinned down without any kind of air support. So we'll see how much longer they can hold out or what the situation will unfold in terms of that. But the next few days could potentially continue to swing in terms of momentum in Ukraine's side. Slava Ukraini, Heroям Slava, Slava Nazi, God bless.